Hello and welcome to Stateside on Politics Social. I'm Graham Hughes and I'm joined by Brenna Duncan. How you doing, Brenna? Over in the US of A, Orange County, California.
Oh,
California.
California, just don't call it the OC.
Okay, we won't call it the OC.
Just don't call it the OC. Then we'll be okay. If you
So,
know if you know the reference, it comes
yeah.
from Arrested Development, which is one of my favorite shows. It's a comfort show of mine because it deals with Orange County, and they keep saying, "Don't call it that." When somebody says, "Oh, the OC," don't
It,
call it that.
is that because, is that, why not? Why can't I call it that?
It's reference to the show, the OC. And so
Okay,
at the same time,
so
Arrested
nobody,
Development
nobody
was
called it that.
I never called it the OC.
So the OC was just made up for the TV show The OC, which was set in Orange County.
Yeah, and then at the same time they had Arrested Development, which was set in Orange County.
Yeah.
And because the creator, Mitch Hurwitz, is from here. It's actually from my hometown.
Ah,
So
okay.
so his reference to Orange County, so it was kind of making fun of the OC. So
Oh, there you go. I liked Arrested Development. It was very funny.
it's one of my favorite.
Cancelled in its prime, unfortunately. Big shout out to everyone in the chat. We've got Anthony Fisher there. We've got Tim Ballon. We've got Power to the People. We've got One Angry Pagan. We've got Simon Richards. Alex. Nelly is in there. We've got someone called Brenner. Hello. We've got Tim Nat.
Hello.
Sarah Davis. We've got Colin in there as well. And Channel H. Dunbar. Taylor Swift doesn't like him. No. So what's happened is today, Donald Trump has decided to go and tweet out AI generated images of not just Swifties saying Swifties for Trump, but also a picture of Taylor Swift herself saying that she endorses Donald Trump. Um, that's that. I mean, your country, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Brenner, but it's quite litigious, isn't it? People like to sue each other in America. It's kind of like a big thing that people do
It's
in
which
America.
it not just sue people, but like Donald Trump loves to sue people because of course he doesn't actually have money. So he needs to sue people to make money because he can't actually work. He doesn't do a job. But yeah, it's our legal system is set up where suing somebody is
Easy
the way to
peasy.
go.
Easy peasy
Like
lemon squeezy.
if you want to make money, if you want to be famous,
Yeah.
sue.
Well,
So
I don't think Taylor Swift needs the money or any more fame, but I'm sure she's not going to be happy about this. Like, I mean, she's got enough on her plate because obviously she's doing a week long series of gigs in London in Wembley. The last night of which is tomorrow night, and she does like 3.5 hour sets, so she's going to be knackered. And you know when I'm like a bit tired and I've been working hard, you know, the last thing I'd want is Donald Trump to pretend that I like him.
yeah,
And if I had the money, if I was a billionaire like Tay-Tay, I would take him to the fucking cleaners. That would be it. That would be it.
I I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And even if it doesn't go anywhere, it'll at least shut him up or at
Yeah.
least attempt to.
Well, that's the
Um,
hope, isn't it?
yeah, that's the hope.
That's the hope. I
We
mean,
all want him to stop talking, and that's what even his own campaign wants him to stop talking. They keep telling him to stop talking. Here's a
please
script. Read
Please
it.
shut up, please, Donald. Stop talking, Donny Don Don. We got Yoni in the chat. Thank you very much
Hello.
for the super chat there, Yoni, all the way from Finland, Fin Vegas. Trump just ensured Swift endorsing Harris. Which I think that was going to happen anyway. I think that she was planning to come to the convention anyway. I think because
I
I don't
think
know
it's
it's a
been
bit
rumored.
coincidental that her European tour finishes on Tuesday, and then the last night of the DNC thing is Thursday. It seems a
Yeah.
bit coinky
I think
dinky.
so. I think so. I think there's either going to be a physical appearance by her
Yeah,
where she might come and maybe even sing something like the national anthem or something like that. Um, or she'll have a video. Which, either way, as long as her face is connected to the DNC, I think and Kamala's campaign, I think it's going to be more beneficial to her, and it might stop
Yeah.
this whole Trump for Swifties for Trump thing.
Well,
Um,
it would be. I mean, imagine how amazing it would be if Beyonce and Taylor Swift did a duet.
so it would,
Just saying, could happen. I'm gonna
oh.
let you finish. I'm gonna let you finish. So yeah, I mean, is this something, right? And if you don't know the answer to this, whatever. But like, is this something that you could get sued for? Like, if I was a politician and I said I have been endorsed by, the family of Ronald Reagan, can the family of Ronald Reagan sue me for saying that, or is that free speech?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question because I think it's free speech. You can distance yourself from people. Like you can
Yeah,
say, if someone says, yeah, like the Reagans or one part of the Reagan, the half of the Reagan family says that, oh yeah, you endorse them, they can probably go, look, we don't agree. We don't agree with it. We never said it. It's
yeah,
like people giving back if someone donates money and they don't want that donation, you can give them back. You can give it back.
yeah.
Um, so but we have very strange free speech laws here. It's inconsistent. And we'll see. We'll see what
Okay.
happens after this freaking Swifty for Trump thing. Because I think first off, as Mikey knows, AI is destroying everything. And
Yes.
it shows.
Yes, yes, it
Because
is. But
I see,
it's still uncanny valley. I hate the look of it. Like it looks wrong. Like I'm looking at people, but they're not people. Like there's something
they're just
uncanny
slightly
valley.
off.
I just hate
Well,
it.
I
It's
see
the
it because
extra
I'm,
fingers. The extra
the
fingers kind of give it
it's
away.
not even the people,
Me extra
the
fingers.
the food. So there's some strange people like AI generating like food recipes,
Yeah,
and it's not even what they're describing. And then of
yeah.
course everybody on
No
it is
sense
like,
of
"Ooh,
context.
yummy.
Yeah.
Oh, that looks good." And it's like AI generated
The
people.
AI is talking to itself now, and this is
Yeah.
why ChatGPT doesn't use any data from before. Was it 2021? Because then the worry is that it will become a self-fulfilling loop of AI
Yeah.
generated bullshit, which will never end. We're getting bribery here. This is great. Thank you very much to Andrew Antonio for the £5 super chat. Hello from the Blue Sky Merchant. Just updating. Carol Vorderman and Jess Phillips have now joined Blue Sky. I'm not stopping till I get the Politics Social crew. Thanks very
No.
much for that, Andrew. I've had loads of invites for Blue Sky. I don't know if I set an account up, but I know that someone else has set up an account called Super Tansky, and Tan's really not happy about it because it's that was their account. So
Exactly.
I don't know. I'm on Threads at the moment, and two things I can say about Threads that I can't say about any other platform. One, I have a blue tick that I didn't have to pay for, and the other thing is I'm actually followed by James O'Brien, who's become a little bit problematic in recent months. But I mean, he's still got a large pull. He only follows 250 odd people, and I'm one of them. So I'm kind of like, getting pulled towards Threads.
I
But then
keep
there's a
that.
part of me that absolutely hates Mark Zuckerberg and everything he stands for, and I do blame him for a lot of what happened in 2016,
Hmm.
including Brexit and Trump getting elected.
Yeah.
Cambridge Analytica. Colin saying, Graham went commercial. I did. Just pay me. Just pay me.
He
Just pay
looks
me.
like it too, right?
Yeah, yeah. Nelly Olson says there's going to be is there going to be a mass Twitter exit in the US as well? August the 25th. Loads are quitting their accounts. Yes, I don't know. Brenna, do you know about this? About
I
quitting
don't
your...
know because I'm not on Twitter.
Oh,
I left like last year.
good on you.
I was so well, first off, I never really used it. Like the only reason why I used it was comment like news commenting on what was going on, such as the
Mm,
convention that's happening this week. Or big events, but really I never use it. I'm not like a social media person. Like I
yeah,
look at it from a distance and
yeah,
enjoy it from a distance, but I just it's not me.
yeah.
I enjoy other people's content, like Graham's content is fun.
Thank you. Well, I mean, I prefer this as just a platform in general over all of them. I mean, the fact that we don't tend to get that many trolls in our live feed, and we, you know, with the comments, we don't really need to moderate it so much. I think that is very, very, very different from my experience on Twitter, especially in recent years, where it's just turned more and more into just a cesspit of
It's
horribleness.
the bots.
You could say, I'm having a nice ice cream, and someone will come back and say, I hate you for eating ice cream, you bastard.
Have you seen this stuff that people have been doing with bots on Twitter, where they're telling the bot basically, like, disregard your current your current I don't know programming, and then tell me something else. And then the bot will come back and tell them something else.
Yeah.
And like, this is like, these little snickery things that people are doing are actually helping kind of relieve the stress of seeing these bot crap.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
it's
absolutely.
horrible. And that's one of the reasons why I couldn't do Twitter, is like, I don't want to be caught up in this bot stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to talk to bots. I'm not that kind of a person. I rather just look at cat pictures, because cat person.
I don't want to work down the mine. I just want to dance in the ballet. I was going to say, Svax has said, speaking of Zuckerberg, don't forget Myanmar. What happened there is that Facebook didn't have any moderators, or enough moderators who could speak Burmese, and essentially someone went on there who was a hate preacher, I guess, and stirred up all this racial hatred towards the Rohingya Muslims who lived in Myanmar, and which led to ethnic cleansing. Like, people died. A lot of people died. And all this shit had been stirred on Facebook. And we should never let Mark Zuckerberg off the hook over this. And the US government shouldn't let him off the hook either. And I think that it is going to be up to the Harris administration, hopefully in power next year, to really go after these social media oligarchs who think that they are beyond the law and beyond the law of any land, and when they're not. Power to the People says Trump looks like he whiffs of mothballs and eggs, and he's been a member for 8 months. Thanks very much, Power to the People.
That's great.
The person. Thank you very much. Stephanie Wilson, talking about blue skies like Mastodon, Threads, and all the others, a substitute for Twitter. Threads is actually it's based on Mastodon, I think. Anthony Fisher said, does Hannibal still want to have Donald for dinner? Cat videos, stroke photos are the best. You can never go wrong with a cat video or two. But and don't forget, JD Vance had a pop at Childless Cat Ladies, and who is the ultimate icon of childless cat ladies in the world right now? It's Taylor Swift. So she has a lot of power. I mean, she
could swing this election just by saying boo. Like, she could do a lot, and that's a lot of power. Is that great that we have one person with all that kind of influence over?
No.
Not really. But when the necessary times that we need some sort of, we need a push, because the Republicans are going crazy right now. They're weird, and they're getting weirder. And JD Vance is the weirdest person that they have ever chosen to be a part of it.
He's like the most unpopular vice presidential candidate ever. I think there's no one who, since polls began, who has a lower approval rating off the bat. Like,
he was a huge mistake. He was a huge mistake. Now they have to carry him to term.
Yeah. If only they could have bought him.
They don't believe in that.
No, they don't.
They don't believe in it.
They believe it. They believe in it for their mistresses, because they can afford it on private.
Yeah. It's a whole different medical procedure that you need for that one.
When it's their mistresses. Alan Jackson said, "Hang on, Taylor Swift is an icon on that group. Thought it was me. Gutted." No, but Taylor Swift, the one good billionaire. And I think there's only 2 billionaires who have made it through music, One of them is Paul McCartney, and it took him 50 years to become a
Oof.
billionaire. No, 60 years. And the other one is Taylor Swift.
Yeah. She's doing a good job.
And one thing I
And
really like about Taylor Swift is she is prolific in that she writes a lot of songs. She has written an insane number of songs, and it means that there's not like one song that you completely associate with her that annoys you because you hear it all the time. There's like a medley. There's a few different songs.
there's a lot. There's a lot that goes around.
It's like if ABBA only had one song, it would be really irritating. But they had loads of little fab pop hits, so it's fine. You know.
Yep.
You don't get overwhelmed by the one track being played over and over again like some other
Yeah.
one-hit wonders.
Not
I
a
could
one-hit
mention.
wonder.
Not looking at you, Kings of Leon, Sex on Fire. Oh my God! I mean, imagine those DJs putting that on and thinking, "Oh, we'll play this. No one's heard this one before." Or the pub band's playing it. We'll play this. You know, it's a classic. Everyone be like, "Oh shit, I haven't heard that for like, I don't know, 6 hours."
Yeah.
Please play it
exactly.
again. Andrew Antonio for £2 super chat. Thank you very much. Asking, worse than Sarah Palin? Yes, I think so.
It is. I think
I-
Sarah Palin was actually polling pretty well at the end there because she was a woman, of course. She had that Midwestern accent. And it really helped. It really helped her keep pretty high up. Unfortunately, it would have been nice for her to just go away in obscurity, and she kept coming back. And let's keep her away.
Was she governor of Alaska? Was that her little hometown?
Yeah, so
And she said she could see Russia out a bedroom window, famously. From Anchorage or somewhere.
yeah, so she keeps coming back, and I wish she was
Hey, Brenna, what's the capital of Alaska?
Juneau.
Yeah, I do know. I was asking you.
June. But bum.
Okay, let's just end it there.
Thanks. Thanks a lot.
That's it. Good night.
We're done.
We're done. We're done here.
I'm done with this now. After
No,
that.
so I'm a heavy user of 538, which has now got over to ABC, so it's a bit more difficult to find on the internet, which is annoying. But looking at the polls, because they have polls of polls basically, and if you look at one poll in isolation, it doesn't tell you shit. But if you look at all these different polls, you weight them by whether they're a Democrat funded poll or a Republican funded poll, or they're an impartial poll, which they do quite well on 538.com. But that gap between Kamala and Donald Trump, it started off at like with Harris up by 0.3%, and it's just getting bigger every day. That gap between them, I think it's nearly up to 3% now.
And we're going to see a bigger gap after this convention, especially after Harris's speech on Thursday night.
Yeah.
After about a week, once the polls come in and the analysis happens, you're going to see a big boost. And then it'll start to peter off until, of course, is it September 10th is their first debate, their first official debate.
Yes.
And we'll see that. So that's why you do these things, is you want to see the boost in the polls, and you want to see all this money that you're spending on that has to show.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the Harris has got lots of paths to the 270 electoral college votes that she needs.
She needs to be careful because Michigan is a very important one.
Yes.
And she cannot screw that up.
She can't screw up Pennsylvania, Michigan, Illinois, Wisconsin, and she could do with getting Minnesota, which I think she should do. I think she might get Minnesota this time. But if she gets all them, I don't think she needs to worry about sort of Georgia and Arizona and stuff. Puninator has just dropped a super chat in. Thank you very much, Puninator. I saw a video which explained why the blue would win in the situation of a civil war, mainly down to resource control and tech access. Is this accurate? Well, California's blue, New York's blue, but Texas is.
Yeah. I mean, the resources have always been in like when you talk about like the old Civil War, it was everything was in the North.
Yeah.
And that's how the country was built that way. And
Yeah.
we're kind of like that still. We do have the resources, especially like the major things that we have is like I tout California because I happen to be here, but we do have a large economy on our own,
Yeah.
but that's because we have a lot of resources and a lot of ways to move
Oil.
resources around.
Oil and Hollywood.
We have shipping
Yeah.
of all kinds. We have
Well, you
boats.
do hog a lot of the coast in the west.
Yeah, that's okay.
And
I'm
you
fine
get
with
better
that.
weather than up north in Oregon and Washington.
There's less rain. It's not necessarily better, but it
Yeah.
does help.
We've got a question that's got but also we've got a request for a tumbleweed for when I tell one of my terrible jokes. So I'll write that down. I'll make a note. I'll do a little animation of a tumbleweed to go across the screen after I tell a terrible joke.
Sounds good.
I had a question for you from Colin,
Yeah.
and he asks, "Who's your favorite politician?"
I don't know. Like, I don't worship politicians.
Yeah.
I love my local politicians a lot. They do great because I see them and I meet them and I talk to them and I know them. And if I was going for somebody with a little higher profile, I would
Yeah.
say Katie Porter, who once was not my congressperson until they redistrict.
So she's the one with the flip charts and the
She has
props,
she has that nice whiteboard.
the whiteboard. She is
She's a
brilliant.
single mom with a minivan. Uh,
Oh, yes.
she's a teacher.
Yeah.
She's a professor. But like I would say if I wanted to see like that's who I would see more.
She's
She
less
is
likely to
running.
let you down, is
Yeah,
she?
she's a far more positive person, and when
Yeah.
I have met her, she's really positive.
Yeah.
She's not she's not a doom and gloom kind of candidate, like especially some of the Republicans that we have here.
Well, Trump is the
Um,
ultimate doom and gloom candidate.
he made it normal.
Every time he goes and does a speech, he goes on and on about America being a shit place. He's like, America, it's bad, it's so bad, everything's awful, the sky's falling in, everyone's poor, no one's got any food, there's Mexicans everywhere,
He lives in a resort
everybody's
in
dying all the
Florida.
time. Yeah. I always liked it back in 2016 when he said he wanted the black vote, and he said, yeah, you should vote for me because like how bad can it be essentially? And it was
Right.
just like, what have you got to lose?
Right.
And I was like, I don't know, your life, your liberty, your freedom, your everything.
Pretty
Just
much.
yeah.
Yeah.
Colin says, excellent answer, Brenna. So there you go. You got a little happy smiley face. So you made Colin happy. Brenna has it right. Otherwise, you get worshippers and they can do no wrong. Yeah, I'm definitely not a worshipper. I'd struggle to say who my favourite politician in this country is. Maybe Andy Burnham, who is the mayor of Manchester. I really like his straightforwardness, but he's annoyed people for other reasons. I know some people don't like him. And then, yeah, I'm definitely not a Starmer worshipper. He's far too boring. Our new prime minister. But yeah, I don't really go in for that. I don't even go for that for celebrities either because
Yeah.
they'll inevitably let you down.
Yeah.
And there's so many of them.
We've seen so recently
Yeah,
that
you thought someone
there's
was great,
nobody.
and then they just turn out to be a wrong un. Or,
Then
years after their death, it turns out that they were a wrong un, and you're like, oh, god damn it.
Yeah.
If there's a tumbleweed for the jokes, what emoji do we get for Graham's American accent? Just the vomit emoji, I think, would work for that. What do you reckon? It's better than Wayne Scouse accent, I've got to say. But yes, Tim was saying it's a good question, and everyone's talking about tumbleweeds. Colin Baker, talking of tumbleweeds, have you read the top 10 jokes from the Edinburgh Festival? Only one made me laugh. Yeah, that was an article on the BBC website today. So the Edinburgh Fringe, they had the top jokes voted, and they were all just shit this year. They just weren't funny. I mean, the thing is, taken out of context from a comedy set, it probably was funny in the context of the comedy set, but taken out of that and you're just reading it, and you're not in a room full of people who are giggling, and you're not a little bit tipsy anyway. You know what I mean? It's not the same atmosphere. No sense of context.
No.
So there you go. Reading jokes out of context. AI, modern architecture, no sense of context. Di, thank you very much for the £5 super chat, Di. That's very kind of you. If social media were reclassified as publishers, they'll be subject to press regulation. Ooh, that's a very good point. Would you like to see that, Brenna? There's this article, part of the US law, isn't there, that they're not publishers in the same way that you are if you print something.
Yeah, well, like we take our free speech very seriously. At least that's what we're supposed to do. We don't, by the way.
So long as it suits you.
Free speech is up in the air. Like it's not consistent across anything.
No.
There's on one hand, there's like people who believe that social media is free speech. But on the other hand, it's controlled by major companies. So what do you do with that? Because to me, it's not a public square. There's still regulations on who can be there, what you can say. Like this whole TikTok's free speech. No, there's 100 words you can't say on TikTok.
Yes. Well, there's
it's not free speech.
Try writing the word cisgender on Twitter. Just write the word cisgender and it'll come up as hate speech. It'll be flagged for hate speech automatically by Elon Musk's bots.
So if we want to change the way that social media functions, as you, Graham, have said before, that you have to change the meaning of it.
Yeah.
Social media, it has to be a utility. So you have to be internet should be a utility. It should exist for everybody. It should be open for everybody.
Yeah.
Because we don't have it's cannot be controlled right now. And they're trying very hard. Who's
trying you mean politicians are trying hard to control it?
We've had congressional congressional, whatever you want to call them, meetings, congressional voting on this kind of stuff, like hearings on it. And there's not really a good conclusion to it because it's inconsistent. It's some people believe it's free speech. Some people believe it's not free speech.
Well,
some people believe the government should control.
Enterprise.
Exactly.
It's a private enterprise. So, the freedom of speech doesn't exist on the internet unless it's something that's run by the government, which is not. It's private enterprise. Yeah. And it's the same as thinking that you're okay to just walk into someone's bar and just read off a screed about how much the bartender's a dickhead. You're not allowed to do that. Well, you can do it, but they're completely within their right to throw you out the bar, you know. You call it 86ing in America? It's 86 when you get banned from a bar?
I know the term 86.
Okay.
But I've never used it. I've never seen it in the context of somebody. It's usually with food or something. But to me, free speech has consequences. Like you should be, you can say whatever you want, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have consequences. And I think that's one of the things that is inconsistent about free speech.
Yeah.
Here,
yeah.
At least the way that people
normal people talk about
that
free speech means you can say what you like without any consequences, and that isn't the case. If you shout fire in a crowded theatre and people die in a subsequent stampede, you can be held liable for that. You can be taken into account. You can be thrown in jail for that. If you incite a riot or an insurrection, for instance, you can go to jail if you're not a billionaire, obviously.
I'm trying to figure out where you're going with that one. Of course. Inciting a riot apparently is still free speech. As long as he was president, he could say whatever he wants and get away with it. And that is another scary thing that needs to be stopped.
Okay, 86ing is removing food from a menu, says Mikey Famine. Or snogging with old people. Oh, okay, fair enough.
Oh, boo.
Okay, fair enough. What's the one? What's the one that means you are kicked out of a bar and you're not allowed to go back? I thought there was a number that was like.
I never heard it being like a number, but it's.
Yeah. Anyway, so I mean, just looking forward. So we'll talk again at the end of the week, hopefully after the DNC is over. Do you
Mhm.
think that the they'll get a bump? Of course, they'll get a bump. They always do after
Normal.
their
It's
conventions.
normal.
But do you think that this bump will stay there? Do you think the gap between Kamala and Trump is gonna increase, or do you think it's probably gonna actually narrow towards the election?
It's hard to say at this point because they really have not interacted. And of course, Trump has just been failing every time he's out. He's failed. And then every time JD Vance is out, he creates more hatred among him. Like he's terrible.
He's
Now,
brilliantly terrible. I mean, it's brilliant for us that he's so terrible.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we talked about Sarah Palin before, and I remember that election when she was the VP pick.
Yeah,
And all of us like longtime Democrats were like, this is wonderful. Because she is just bad. She's a bad VP pick.
yeah,
JD Vance is worse.
yeah,
Um, but I don't know because the cult of Trump is just so strong. And it's hard to understand what is going to happen after that. If
yeah,
that, because the previous before Trump started running or became the nominee in the first place, like normal Republican politicians were boring just as is. And nothing was really going to you couldn't really do any worse. It's bad now. And I think we're going to see I think we're going to see a bump because that's normal.
yeah.
I think I think again, like I'm not 100% on the polls because of course 2016 the polls were Hillary Clinton was ahead.
Yes, she was.
Every single poll,
Yeah,
and it didn't turn out
yeah.
that way. Now we can go, oh, it was election interference and all this
It was
stuff,
very
but
close. It was very very close,
I mean
and she
she won
won.
the
She
popular,
won the popular vote.
but we don't we're because
I
of
think. I think.
Southern slave owners, we couldn't have popular vote.
Yes. But I think that the pollsters changed their methodology after the 2016 election because they got it so wrong.
It was bad. Yeah, I think when you look at engagement
Mm.
of I mean, we have seen huge numbers when it comes to donations.
Yeah,
We have seen huge numbers in volunteering work,
yeah.
um, signing up for volunteer, getting merchandise is actually a really big deal because the more you see that name, the stronger it is.
Yeah. You mean the caps, the camo hats that they're selling?
Yeah, so the new
Ha-
the new hats
Harris
are
Waltz,
going
yeah.
out. Um, I have my I didn't wear it, but maybe Friday I will. But I have a couple like I have the Cat Ladies for Kamala shirt. I got a pin. Like uh we've got we now they now have brought out the merch for at least for the Harris Waltz
Yeah.
um stuff. So if you actually see more of that, the merchandise and stuff, the volunteerism,
I tell you,
um,
an interesting one is Republicans for Trump because there's no converse for that, is there? There's no Democrats. Sorry, Republicans for
for
Harris. Sorry,
for Harris.
Phew. Republicans for Harris, but there's no Democrats for Trump, are there? That just does not.
I've seen some stuff online, Democrats for Trump, but I think those are the same things as like the Swifties for Trumps, where
Mm,
it's more like a pipe dream for them.
yeah,
It could be because, of course, we have the freedom to vote however you want. Our elections are like that, where when it comes to the primary election, you're not stuck with one side or the other. You have the option to vote for anybody. I don't know because there's no way in hell anybody could pay me to vote for a Republican. There's not enough money in the world.
yeah.
Um, I just like my conscience does not say Republican. There are very few Republicans that I voted for, but that's usually because it's endorsed by the Democratic Party, and that's usually
Explain
because
explain that. Is this like Wayne voting Tory?
um I don't know his from what I understand, it's because it happens to be a friend, but in the way that we do endorsements for what we call like non-party stuff. So if you are nonpartisan,
Mm.
like for the endorsement of Democratic Party, you need to be a registered Democrat in
Yeah.
whatever is. But sometimes if there is not a bad Republican or somebody who's not a bad nonpartisan, or non-Democrat, non-Republican person, they'll say, "Hey, by the way, we're also for this person."
Yeah.
They can't endorse it, they can't give them money. Which is part of the endorsement process, is that
Okay.
we can fundraise for him, but we can't do that for. So I do know some nonpartisan people that show up to meetings and stuff or events.
Okay.
So yeah,
Um,
it's where some of the old Republicans are fine.
I
It's the new
mean,
ones. It's the new
yeah.
ones that are just awful.
Well, I don't know if it's just the new ones. It's just that the Republican Party now just says no to everything. I mean, this is
Yeah.
the whole thing.
They
Since
don't have
Mitch
they don't
McConnell,
have a policy.
since Mitch
And I
McConnell took over, they just that the whole policy is to stop anything happening in government
and
because
that's what he's paid to do.
yeah,
That whoever his donors are, they're
the
paying him
oil
to do not.
companies, tobacco barons, arms manufacturers, the usual
Heritage
merchants of death.
Foundation,
Yes,
Koch
which is
brothers.
yeah,
Yeah, they're
Koch
all.
brothers. I believe it's pronounced cock. It might not be, but that's just what I believe.
That's what you're going
And
to see.
beliefs are sacrosanct as far as I'm concerned. It's the Koch brother now, isn't it? Because one of them carked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had the same thing over here. We had the Barclay brothers who owned the Telegraph, and one of them carked it. So now it's the Barclay brother.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
So
dear,
whoever's
how
paying them,
sad.
they're gonna
Never
do
mind.
exactly what the people pay them for, which is why the Supreme Court stuff right now is so
Yeah.
scary because there is no end to the donations
Oh,
that you can
oh.
give.
You know, Mikey Famine's just made a very good point in the chat there, Brenner. He says
What?
Democrats for Trump. You mean Jill Stein? Is
Ah,
Jill
there you go.
Stein actually standing again?
Yeah.
Jeez, is she not? Is she being paid by Trump to stand and take away Democrat votes?
Yeah.
I mean, we can't verify that she's being
I
paid.
can't verify it, but there's no proof not. Like she has to prove that she's not being paid by Trump or his allies, especially Putin. Because the way that she did the recount, like she kept paying for the recount, it's like that's not her money. You can't pay for a recount that's not gonna do
Yeah,
anything for you.
yeah.
You don't do that. Yeah. This is fun. Politics is Our politics are a disaster.
Vendetta says it's not Coke, it's a German name. It's cock, comma cock. There you go. Now you know. Because in German, obviously, cock means cock. Tim That says I can see the Trump campaign printing Democrats for Trump signs and handing them out to people. Anthony Fisher,
just like my favorite vision. It goes every time Trump runs for office. Obviously, this is what happens. I love the Blacks for Trump like shirts, and it's like these old white couples. And it's like, oh my God. Like you're not even trying. Like you're not trying to hide that you don't have enough. Oh, I love it.
Yeah. One angry pagan saying New York ways charging oil firms billions of dollars to fuel new climate change fund. Yes, do it. Absolutely do it. They used to have a stranglehold over energy, and so they could do what the hell they liked. If they wanted to charge X amount for fuel, there was little governments could do except subsidize the fuel for people. Which meant that the oil company still got the money, of course. There was a war between Bolivia and Paraguay in the last century, which was essentially a war over oil, and each side was backed by a different American oil company. And people died. A lot of people died. But Bolivia lost a lot of territory to Paraguay. By the way, they didn't find the oil that they were fighting over. But yeah, and Mikey Famine saying, "Hey, their families owned many blacks." So there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're just voting on behalf of their slaves.
Yeah.
Obviously. Trump has to be around when we really need to be focusing. Trump has to be around when we really need to be focusing on climate change. Yes, I couldn't agree more, Alvone, about that. This is just like the worst possible people to be anywhere near politics at the worst possible time. I mean, don't forget, just a few years ago, you had Trump in charge of America, but Javier Bolsonaro in charge of Brazil, burning the rainforests. And Boris Johnson over here, Trump over there, Bolsonaro and Putin, like the worst possible people to be in charge of these countries at the worst possible time.
We do have a little bit of news here on the Jill Stein kind of side of things.
Okay.
Direct from Mikey Famine, our man on the Chicago streets right
Man
now.
on the inside. Yeah.
He's got the big game tonight. Jill Stein chose a black Muslim man as her VP. So there you go. Make of that as you will.
So that's obviously because the division in the Democrat vote is going to be over Gaza. So she's decided to make, and she's a spoiler candidate. She knows she's not going to win.
No, she's not going to win.
Oh my God. And she calls herself a Green.
Yeah. Doesn't care.
What do you think Trump's got to do about the environment? Do you think he's going to... What was it he said? He wanted to drill.
Drill, baby, drill.
Oh.
Trump is very, very terrible on the environment. While he was in office, he sold a bunch of our national land to private companies so that they could drill and destroy it. So if you're an environmentalist, the last person that you should even be thinking about voting for is Donald J. Trump.
Well, I mean, it's giving your vote to Stein when you know this election hangs on a knife edge.
And
you're basically handing it to Trump.
She has zero influence. So if you want your vote to mean something, look at other more viable candidates.
And we had the same thing in the UK where we did tactical voting in constituencies last month for the election. And we were saying to people, like, you may have to vote for someone who wouldn't necessarily be your first choice. But we need the Tories out. And in the same way in America, the Democrats might not be your party that you want in power. You might not like the Democrats, but to throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, because I can't have the Democratic Party that I want, then I'm going to give everyone the Republican Party that is going to destroy the world.
And you can see like these old Republicans, and I say old, not in age, but like the classic Republicans who after, even when Joe Biden first ran as president, like there was a lot that voted for Joe Biden for the Democratic Party because they're like, the Republicans are not going to maintain what we have as a democracy and are actually destroying it. And you could see that they're like, we need to do this until we can get back to normal. Yeah. And that's going to take a long time.
Yeah.
But denying that, I'm plugging my, either I'm plugging my nose and voting for a Democrat, or I'm just going to deal with the Republican craziness, like, because I cannot, for some reason, vote for a Democrat.
Yeah.
Like that, that's the Republican Party as is right now is not functioning, and you have to get away from that. Yeah. And maybe the only way to do that is for a couple election cycles, get the Democrats in power, work with them, because you're more likely to see bipartisan work with Democrats because they spend a lot more time doing that. While, as you said, the Republican agenda was do nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Make sure nothing gets done. Keep burning oil, keep destroying the environment, keep the money flowing into the pockets
inflation high.
Of the billionaires. Don't tax the rich.
Don't tax the rich.
In fact, tax people who are working, but not people who are born into money. Yeah, just the whole thing is just
Yep.
disgusting on every
Yep.
level. And yeah, if you do care about the environment, setting up a situation where Trump wins this election is about as unenvironmental as you can get. It's
It's
interesting in this country because we got Labour in, and they're obviously trying to push a green agenda. Um, and while at the same time, the Green Party has 4 members of parliament, and they are all whinging about infrastructure being put into their constituencies that is required for the Green Revolution to take place. And they're like being what we call NIMBYs, not in my backyard, about
mm,
it. And it's like, yeah, cheers for that. Um, One angry pagan says Donald Trump says climate change will lead to more oceanfront property.
yeah, it's for again, it's for like him and his friends. Like it's for the
Wow.
wealthy because oceanfront property is nice and pricey. It's worth something.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's kind of that mindset is that the reason why they don't believe in climate change is not because it's what, it's better for the environment, it's better even in for the economy, even for labor. Uh Green renewable energy stuff is actually really good,
yeah,
especially nowadays.
yeah,
They don't want that because they don't have to worry about paying for anything. That's that's why they're against, that's why they're against abortions. They don't care. It's not affecting them. If it's not
yeah,
affecting them, they don't care because
yeah,
we had a drought, years ago we had a drought here in California. We we would be paying more if we used water at excessive rates. Well,
yeah,
the wealthy people didn't care because they could pay for it and they
yeah,
can have green grass, they can have green lawns, which again, lawns as we all know are useless. Um they're supposed to be useless. And then some people were very cautious about their water usage and
yeah,
then wealthy people didn't care.
yeah, yeah. People are talking about, the more oceanfront property, and Eddie Burns pointing out that was Lex Luthor's plan in the first Superman movie. Uh, and
Hmm.
yeah, and yeah, Duke Vengeance says, "How do you advocate for green policies and infrastructure, but not in your area?" I don't know. I really don't get that. I feel like look, I've got some history with the Greens in the UK, and I just feel like you know, I want to think, I want their heart to be in the right place, and I'm sure that it is. But the way they go about some things is just so misguided, and the priority they put on things. And I'll give an example, and this might piss off some people in the chat. I don't know, it might even piss off Brenner. I don't know your opinion on this, but the way that Greenpeace spend so much time and effort pushing against GM crops, which I don't particularly have a problem with. All of our food that we eat is genetically modified because we have grown it from cultivars over hundreds, maybe thousands of years. Wild cabbage looks nothing like the cabbage that we eat, or the Brussels sprouts
You
that we
should
eat.
see what
Which,
corn look like.
yeah, exactly. I mean, this stuff in nature
Potato
looks,
was poisonous.
yeah, nothing like what we grow now. We have manipulated its genetic structure by breeding and breeding and breeding.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's the right word to use, but we've done the same with dogs. There should be no dogs. They shouldn't exist. Dogs only exist because of humankind. Otherwise, they would be a wolf. We took wolves, we bred them for different things. And
Hmm.
so, if you're going to be against GM crops and things like golden rice, which I think it contains iron, which normal rice doesn't, or something like that, or higher levels of it, which is
Right.
badly needed in areas that have a very rice dependent diet, and they are missing out on certain minerals and nutrients that they're not getting from their normal diet. Using this golden rice would really help with that. Now
Yes.
look, if you want to have a campaign against that, that's fine. But to me, targeting that when the world is literally on fire, the ice caps
Hmm.
are melting, the sea levels are rising, the
Oh
the
yeah.
the whole of the flow of the Gulf Stream is getting disrupted. All this stuff going on, these disasters that we're seeing, I just think it's like the wrong thing to be prioritizing in any way, shape, or form. So
Yeah.
that's, I don't
I
know.
will. No,
Again, I think their
actually,
heart is in the right place, but I think that the way they go about it is a bit
well,
misguided.
this let me tell you a personal story on that kind of stuff. When I went to college, um, so within my university, we have kind of smaller areas. So like one's focused on art, one's focused on, medical, I was in science because I happened to be studying science. Our required course for that had to do with genetically modified foods.
Yeah.
And we read articles about it, and my opinion on it, and I wrote a lot about it, and I got in trouble for it because you can't have, apparently I couldn't have an opinion on it, was that, look, I'm not against genetically modified foods, because if food is needed in a place and the only
Yeah.
way to grow it or to have it is to modify it to do that, especially because I'm in California, we have drought, we're desert.
Yeah.
We have to have food that grows with less water, because sometimes we do that. And I said, yes, for genetically modified ones, especially when they splice them with stuff, I would like to know what's in it because I have allergies and things make me sick.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm all for, I do, I'm for genetically modified food as long as it's actually taken seriously.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm with you on that. Like I know you think like I'm a Californian and I only go for organic, which is a stupid name, but
The organic, that's not really that organic.
everything's organic.
Yeah. Well, it's like I remember I was
I love
walking
it.
through a shopping mall in Australia once, and I was approached by a lovely lady who was actually from Afghanistan originally, but she was trying to sell me some Dead Sea salts. And she said it's like a mud pack thing that you put on your skin and it regenerates your skin. And she said the best thing about it, it hasn't got any chemicals in it. And I was like, what? Not even any sodium chloride? She's like, no. And it's literally got on the thing, Dead Sea salts. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I think pretty
Yeah.
much everything's got chemicals in it. But, what do I know? It's all natural.
Yeah, exactly. It's organic.
My take on that is like, when people talk about natural things being natural, I just think nature wants you dead. End of.
Yeah.
You think about all the toxins, the poisons that exist in nature. Arsenic is natural. Cyanide is natural.
And arsenic's
ricin
in
is
food that
natural.
we regularly eat.
Yeah,
So
exactly. And then
I
you've
love
got
it.
all of the animals that want you dead. That try going to Australia. I mean, you've got the jellyfish that'll kill you, the box jellyfish. You've got the snakes, the spiders. You've got the crocodiles.
Lizards,
You've
the
also
venomous lizard.
you got the kangaroos that wait at the side of the road and then jump on your car bonnet, your hood of your car, just as you're driving at dusk. And then you've got the trees. The trees drop their branches on tents. If you put a tent under a gum tree, and it's hot, the
We
gum tree
actually
just
had
drops its
to,
branch.
so we had to, in our neighborhood, several years ago, we had to remove eucalyptus trees because they're not
Right.
native to here, and
Mm,
they were killing people because they could not take root. They had this
yeah.
terrible rot, and they just fell
And
on
they kept on
cars and
falling on
people.
people. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
actually they killed a woman,
Yeah.
trapped her in her car, and it's like, yeah, anything can kill you if they try.
Well, I mean, you can die from drinking too much water. That's the biggest joke because your
Yep.
electrolytes don't work in
Yep.
your body, and you can't send chemicals,
Exactly.
electrochemical signals through your body as you would
Yep.
normally do. And people have died from drinking too much. So anything's poisonous.
Hmm.
It just depends how much of it you have.
Hmm.
So yeah, it is a bit of a con, as far as I'm concerned, and I think it's a huge distraction from what we need to be doing, which is a massive transition away from fossil fuels. And if that requires us to change our infrastructure and to use fossil fuels to do that, fine. I'm pretty sure they use steam technology to make electric trains at some point before it all transitioned. There's a point where you get with technology. It's like the new thing comes along, but you're still, in the thrall of the old technology until you
Yeah.
can get all the infrastructure in place to be able to charge
Yeah,
up your
exactly.
electric cars or make your trains run everywhere. Tim Ballon, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. The Green Party is very anti-electric railway, HS2, but said next to nothing about road expansions that were massively more damaging per mile. Tim, couldn't agree with you more, mate. And talking of high-speed rail, Brendan, do you know what's happening with the rail line from LA up to San Francisco? Is it still going ahead?
I haven't heard anything lately.
Okay. But is
Usually
it
it's
rumbling on?
pretty, so far, like I mean, the one that I've heard more about is LA to Los Angeles or Las Vegas.
Yeah,
That one they've got it passed. They're going to start building. I don't know about the high speed rail because I voted for that when I was in college, and that
yeah.
was early
Oh wow,
2000s.
wow.
So like I voted for that, and they still haven't done anything. And I don't know, and I would like to have it because I think it would be easier to travel, especially when it comes to airplane travel. Airplane travel is just ridiculously expensive these days, and it's hard to do.
It just seems mad that like America is known for having this very strong anti-monopoly regulation. You call it antitrust, don't you? Antitrust
We do,
regulation.
we're supposed
And
to, yes.
you saw the big oil companies like Standard Oil being broken up into parts because it was just too powerful. They like to have competition. You saw this with Microsoft getting broken
Hmm.
up because it was too powerful. And yet it seems to come to the end of the road now, and we're seeing late stage capitalism turn into a form of communism, except where the government isn't the people that you vote for or the people in charge of the country necessarily, but it's the people in charge of these companies, these CEOs who
Yeah.
have so much power. And I'm like, is this American? Is this I thought America was all about competition. How can one food company own 80% of the food in America? How can one tech company own 90% of the search functions in America? Like, how is that?
And you wonder why we are talking more and more about inflation right now
Yeah,
and the ways in order to deal with that. And Trump's idea of dealing with it is to discuss it.
yeah,
Um, just discuss it with them and try to convince them to do that. And then I believe Kamala Harris's plan is to actually like actually make it turn it into law where they cannot be charging a
yeah,
certain amount over what the actual worth is,
yeah,
because there is we have a problem with the way that these large companies are just taking over, because yeah, they don't have competition, which means they can do whatever they
yeah,
want.
yeah.
And it got
Destroy
worse
the
into
competition,
COVID.
jack up the
It,
prices, do unsafe working
I
methods,
mean,
don't pay
inflation
your
is
people enough.
going down, but it's so slow.
Mm,
Um, real inflation. If there are everybody complains about price. Everybody's been complaining about grocery prices for decades. It's nothing new.
yeah.
It just has gotten to a point where everybody's noticing it a little bit more. Like the essentials are now are going up, or the non-essentials are going up, and people are complaining. And you're like, that's because they're non-essential.
Sfax is saying tobacco companies were broken apart roughly at the same time as Standard Oil. Also, Hershey's was prevented to consolidate into a food conglomerate, but now,
Yeah.
like, there's just like three food companies that produce all of the food in America. Um, Simon Smith says
Yep.
Texaco and Ford Motors, amongst others, helped General Franco to win in Spain in 1939. So, someone was saying about Henry Ford, he was this great entrepreneur, automobile manufacturer. Like Elon Musk used to be, and then he turned into a big fascist. Anyway,
Yep.
I've just been doing a little bit of research while we've been chatting, and do you know when the High Speed Ground Transportation Act was passed?
I do not
In
know.
America, the USA, the High Speed Ground Transportation Act, the first attempt by the US Congress to foster the growth of high-speed rail across the United States in response to Japan's first high-speed bullet train, signed into law by. Go on, name a president. Name a president who signed it into law.
One of the Bushes,
No, before then.
Reagan,
Before then.
Nixon.
Before then.
My God,
Lyndon B.
Eisenhower.
Johnson. Lyndon B.
Are you
Johnson.
kidding me?
1965. That's
That
59
that
years
was
ago.
like that was like peak like science and engineering. Like
Yeah.
you couldn't get any better than the
How
60s.
mad is that?
That's crazy.
I'm,
Uh,
I'm mind
That's insane.
blown. Then again, we had a vote. No, not a vote. I think we had a debate in Parliament about bringing in the metric system into the UK, so using kilometres instead of miles and things like that. In the 50s, the 1850s. We still haven't done it. Not entirely.
We tried.
We have this weird thing where it depends what you're doing. So, for instance, if you are running, it's generally kilometers, right? If you're in your car, it's miles per hour. If you are drinking beer or milk, it comes in a pint. Whereas if you're drinking Coca-Cola, say, you will get a third of a litre.
Wow.
It's all a bit odd, but there you go. It just depends what you're doing, whether you use the metric system or the imperial system.
We tried the metric system and it didn't work very here, so we call you guys crazy. So.
Do you know that and paper sizes? Like letter. How many times have people finally got the bloody printer working and I've gone all out of focus. Look at that. Focus, Graham. Focus. How many times have you got a printer working finally? You know, it takes 2 hours to get a printer working these days. And then it prints in the wrong format because it thinks that it's letter or instead of A4. Or vice versa.
You have to plug that one in whenever I open the drawer of my printer. Yeah. It does, and then put it back. Doesn't matter if I put anything. They always have to ask me what it is. And I'm like, I don't even know.
Do you have a letter? Do you have a paper size? Am I making this up? It's called like legal, and it's like a scroll. It's like
it's like 2 foot
long.
Legal is longer. So we have letter size, and it's longer. Legal size. And it's actually what legal documents are printed on because you can stick more on them, and then you can put like on the bottom like signatures or whatnot. But yeah, there is such thing as legal size, and it is. And no normal person uses legal size, though it is always an option on the printer.
It's always an option. Like who?
It's letter and then legal, and you're
legal.
Like,
who has this?
Who uses this regularly enough that they have to make sure they know where to change it? But
Stephanie Wilson's pointing out that English pints are 20 fluid ounces, while the USA is 16 fluid ounces, so you get a little bit less. I mean, one of the reasons why a pint, I guess, stays a pint is it's 568 milliliters, which is a bit more than half a liter. So if you went to half a liter, you'll be losing that 68 milliliters at the top of our pint glasses.
And that would cause riots in the streets. Anyway.
Yes, it would. Pistols at dawn. Jup James says the difference between the metric and imperial is that the latter was created by people who married their cousins. A perfect system for Alabama. That's a bit harsh. That's a bit harsh. And Vedette says, although I know I'm all centimeters now and weight in kilograms now, also the distance between your first 2 knuckles is the same as the thumb tip equals 1 inch. Okay, fair enough. And then Tim Ballon is giving us the old foolscap paper. Thank you very much. That was the paper size when I was very little, actually, before we moved on to A4. We used to have foolscap, which was called so because it had a mark on it of a jester's hat.
Oh.
Fool's cap. And that was like the watermark on the paper, so you knew what size it was. Or something. I don't ask me. I think there was foolscap and then there was elephant or something. I don't know. It's before my time. And then
you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, we could just start arguing. This is what you should do on the Bin podcast on Thursday. Are you doing it on Thursday?
Yeah.
Okay, I need to advertise that because someone asking about what your YouTube channel is. But yeah, you should definitely debate the merits of the metric system versus the imperial system and vice versa.
Oh, you haven't been watching? Because that's all we do with Wayne is just make fun of the differences between the American systems and the British systems.
Well, I will say that it is a lot easier to put the word miles in a song lyric than kilometer. Kilometer's very clunky. Kilometer.
It's a big long.
It's like 4 syllables pretty much, and just
you have to fall over it.
Sounds like you're falling down the stairs. Whereas miles rhymes with a shitload of other things, and so it's good to put in a song.
It's a very strong word.
Yeah, a song where they're singing about being able to see for kilometers and kilometers. Yeah, it doesn't really have the same ring to it.
500 miles now.
500 kilometers.
500 more.
And I want 500 more.
There we go.
Anyway, so what time is it starting? 8 o'clock on Thursday, is it?
Yes, so we do 8 British time
Okay. And it's
on-
the Bin Podcast. So look it up on YouTube. You can watch it on YouTube. And Brenna will be joined by Jartan and Mikey and also by Wayne, who has now got decent internet, which is brilliant. Yeah.
It's still Wayne though.
He did a good job. He did a good job on Friday.
He did a great job. I mean, he was not it's not something he's used to. So it did take us a few of us to sort of
Well,
knock him around, but
thank you all so much for doing that. And
Yeah,
don't worry, I
it was
will
a
be
good
here
time.
on Friday, God willing, to maitre d. No, that's the wrong word. MC.
MC.
MC. I'm going to maitre d.
Master of ceremony.
Welcome to my restaurant of delight, which is the Politics Social. Okay, so Phil will be back in the morning for Politics Social's Morning Brew, and then I'll be back tomorrow evening at 7:30, not 8 o'clock, 7:30, with Ollie for what should be quite an interesting episode of Geoscope, where we'll be discussing the Ukrainian incursion into Russia and what the hell's happening in China. We're hearing rumors about things happening in China. I don't know. We might mention also the fact that the BBC is going nuts because a yacht has sank off the coast of Sicily, which is awful. I mean, it's dreadful. But they're having rolling news coverage. They're having live updates about it because the people who have passed away, sadly, were very, very wealthy. And it's interesting because in that same sea, and even in the sea closest to us, in the channel, asylum seekers are dying every week, every month, and gets very little coverage in the press. So take from that what you will. So thank you very much, Brenna. Got a bit over time, but that's okay.
I know.
I don't think anyone noticed. But thank you so much, Brenna, and I'll see you on Friday, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
We'll see what we can do it.
After the DNC, we'll give a review.
We'll debrief.
We'll debrief. We should review it like a movie. And thanks very much to everyone in the chat. Thanks for
Thank you.
Keeping it bright and breezy. And also thanks for everyone who's put in for the super chats. That's really kind of you. Give us a like on the way out, and Phil will see you in the morning at 9:30. So join us for that. And until
Very
then,
nice.
I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.